Okay,
Right.
bang on time. Welcome to the Content Theatre. If you just joined us, I'm Cliff Hill from Ectron. We are a provider of a web content management platform as used by these brands here and many others. If you are interested in the technology side of content, please come and talk to us at the back. Anyway, I'd like to introduce Geraint, Holliman and Eoin Rodgers from IDM, and they're going to tell us why content marketing is the only marketing left.
Thank you. Thanks, Cliff. Can everyone hear me okay? So you're joined by Eoin Rodgers and Geraint Holliman. I'm Eoin and I'm a tactical planner at Direction Group. We are an integrated marketing services agency specialising in the tech industry. Geraint is Director and Head of Planning and Strategy with content marketing as a specialism and has undergone a recent piece of research will be published in the spring. So he brings a wealth of content specialism and knowledge with him. So what we're going to try and tackle for you today is the fact that there's a lot of hype about content marketing. But there's not very many answers. We're all here today. I think this has been a very popular session all throughout the day because it's something that we're all very interested in, but there's not so many answers out there. So what we're going to try and tackle is what actually is content, firstly, and then how do we apply that into a marketing context? How does content marketing build customer trust? So all of the brands that come to us about content and thought leadership marketing have the desire to become a trusted advisor in the eyes of their customers. So how do we do that and build that customer trust? How do you make your content epic, or indeed is epic content what we should be driving towards? And who are the brands that are making content marketing really work for them? Who are doing it well, and what are the successes looking like? And then finally, to link back to our title, why did Seth Godin say that it is the only marketing that's left for us in the future? So is content marketing all hype? Is it all fluff, or is it actually something we need to tap into? Well, the facts would say yes, it is very important. 94% of UK marketing professionals are already using content marketing. 64% of marketers in the UK are planning to increase their spend in content marketing, so it's already being recognised as a trend that we all want to tap into. And 60% of senior UK marketing professionals believe that in the future brands will be defined by how they align themselves to quality content. So they can already see the importance of content in moving forward and building that brand equity and brand performance with customers. One thing we need to remember about content and content marketing is that it's not a new thing. We've all started talking about it in the last few years, and it's become a rather hyped concept in marketing, especially in B2B. But it's been around for a long time. Since 1895, actually. John Deere, the guys that make the tractors, they're an American company, they, since 1895, have been publishing a magazine called The Furrow, which doesn't talk about their products, doesn't talk about tractors. It's an agricultural magazine that talks about agricultural technologies and trends and best practices for crop production, etc. So it's not about the products, it's content marketing on the topic of agriculture that they have been pushing out there since 1895. So they've beaten all of us to it by quite a long shot. Another one you might be familiar with, since 1900, Michelin, the guys that make the tyres, began publishing a piece of content every quarter that talked about the best places for travellers who had bought the tyres to go on their cars, people that were driving around, how they could find the best places to lodge and to find the best eateries while they were on the road. And today that has manifested itself as the Michelin Restaurant Guide, and we all know the Michelin star process and how that makes us all feel guilty about not knowing enough about food. So, what is content? Again, it's an area that hasn't really been very much touched strategically or academically. So Geraint, or Mr. Holliman as we might call him, has proffered this definition. So any information provided by a brand in a format that is relevant, compelling and timely, those are the key attributes that we want to home into. So timely to the audience needs at the point in which they engage with it, and that do not overtly seek to sell the brand or the products. So it's all about this idea about being relevant to the audience, compelling enough that the audience is willing to engage with it, and timely in that it meets the needs of that particular customer at that particular point in their buying cycle. So why does content matter? And the answer is, it's Google's fault. Google has effectively made it very easy for consumers and B2B buyers to find all the information they need. We all use search engines. I mean, Google's not the only search engine out there, but it's by far the most prolific. All this information is available. We can all find it very, very easily. So what that means is that us as marketers, we need to be able to create the right information so that when people go looking for it, there's something there. And the thing that we can all guarantee and know it to be true is that if we don't create the content that's going to convince one of our customers or prospective customers, they're going to find that somewhere else. So content is key. Google turns content into currency, so we all need to drive to answer to Google's request for more and more and more information. Content drives reach and it builds awareness. I think we all know that. Customers are seeking it, so customers, when they begin exploring the options about making a change in their business or trying to answer a challenge or a problem they have in their personal lives, they all begin with a search engine and they start looking for information to help them inform that purchase decision. Content aids learning, decision making and purchase, which is why it's all so important to us as marketeers. And content fuels social media marketing. So obviously we all know about how content plays such a strong part in social sharing and the activity that goes along with all the great social channels that we're all trying to use to engage our audiences. And content finally facilitates the inbound effect. So if we talk about inbound marketing, what exactly is it? It's the process of creating text, audio, video and other online assets or content and optimizing them to appear when a prospective customer is ready to pull the trigger on a purchase. So it's all about making content, making sure that it's available and discoverable for our audiences so that when they're at the point where they want to make a decision or educate themselves about a decision, we're there with the right content. We live in an opt-in world. Long gone are the days when we could consistently interrupt our customers and our prospects with our messages. We would push our emails out, we would push our advertising out, and we would just hope that at some point in the process they would latch on to the messages we had to say. Customers can switch us off at the switch of a button with a click of a mouse. They can say, I do no longer want to receive your emails, I no longer want to subscribe to your database. They can switch us off, so we need to make sure that we're delivering the right content and that we're engaging them in the right way. The desire is that customers seek us out because of the quality of our information. If we create the right information that helps them and gives them value, then they will come to us because of the quality of that information that we create. So to speak, content is the worm on the inbound hook, hence the silly little diagram. So what content isn't? And I mean, we're talking about content today in a marketing capacity, so content isn't about me. It's not about the brand, it's not about what you have to sell, it's not about what you need to hit your quarterly figures as a sales guy. It's not about us, it's about you. It's about the customers, it's about what their desires are, what they need to know, and the information that they're seeking. And it's not just brochureware. We engage with loads of brands about content and thought leadership marketing, and we say to them, what kind of content do you have in the organisation? And they say, we've got loads of content, but it's just brochures, that's just product literature. And although that is content, it's not very valuable to a customer who isn't at the point when they want to look at a solution or a product in at that stage of the buying journey. They need information that's going to help them make the right decisions, decide whether a change or making a purchase is actually the right decision for them in the first place. Content is not full of overt selling messages, so again, it's not just a brochure or a piece of literature that you've got that you've pre-packaged up and put a white paper badge on. It has to be of value, and it can't be just about your selling. It isn't the same old story in a different format, so you can't repackage the stuff that you created 5 years ago and call that content. It's about being current and valuable to the audience. And it isn't necessarily unique every time you want to communicate. It's not necessary for you to create content every day of the week and every week of the year. You can create some key pieces of content and really try and drive value from those. And if the content that you create is aligned to what customers want, then it will be by default a successful piece of content. So I'm going to hand over to Geraint, who's going to talk you through about how we make our content great.
Excellent, thanks very much. You all right, can you hear me on this? Yes? Good, because I can't hear me at all in this. Volume's getting low. There's our young friend with the big knob. Sorry, I mean the button to turn the volume up. Fantastic. Is that better? Oh, Christ. Right, I think they can still hear us in the other side of London. Fantastic, right. How to make content great. Well, we talked about what content is in the context of content marketing. But we're being exhorted all the time to make content epic, marvellous, fantastic. Because if it isn't epic, marvellous and fantastic, customers aren't going to be interested in it. And in fact, if you look at what all the advisors, the mavens in the space, the kind of the commentators, the Joe Polizzis, the Jay Bears of this world, they say, you've got to make it great. So this is old Joe in 2009. Hanley and Chapman said, it's got to be awesome. Then Halligan and Shah, the guys who invented inbound marketing, said, it's got to be remarkable. And in fact, Joe came back again earlier this year and had another bite at the cherry and said, it's got to be epic. So if your content isn't these things, your content's going to fail. You're losers. No, that's not true. At all. You know? Those are all value judgments. That's all about what customers, the recipients of the content will believe if your content is right for them. Really, the qualities of effective content, and this is all we as practicing marketeers have to worry about, is the content relevant? Is it compelling? And is it timely? Is it relevant to the needs of the audience, people who are receiving it? Is it compelling such that it makes them do something else? Either consume another piece of content, or move further along their consideration set, or actually contact you as a brand to actually inquire about your products and services. And it has to be timely, at the right point. 99% of people are not in a buying cycle when you talk to them in an outbound marketing sense. They're just not listening. That's why they tune out, they opt out, they say, we don't want to talk to you. So, think about it. Is your content so valuable that people would almost be prepared to pay for it? It is so useful, it's so helpful, it really makes a difference to their professional, personal life that they'd almost be prepared to pay for it. We'll come back to that in a minute when we talk about publishing. And the way I'd like you to think about this is, when you start to create content, think about the unanswered questions that your customers have, right? Does your content help the customer make a better decision? What questions have they got about your product or category that are going unanswered? Because if you answer those questions with your content, you will be helpful, they will trust you more, and I'm going to come back to that in just a moment. So, with content, we've talked about what content is and how it's actually useful. What is content marketing? Well, it's the use of content to market your brand. So firstly, why? Why should we even bother? You know, quite happy with the outbound model, weren't we? Yeah, it had 95% wastage, but we've all built businesses on that, haven't we? Well, as David Meerman Scott said, bless him, nobody cares about what your company does, nobody cares about your products, nobody cares about your services, they want to know what you can do for them. Yeah? So really, for our purposes here, the definition of content marketing is technique for creating, distributing and sharing of relevant content to engage customers and brands at the appropriate point in their consideration process such that it encourages them to convert to a business building outcome using original, curated, licensed, user-generated or interactive application-generated content driving profitable customer outcomes. We're all in this to drive customers to a more profitable outcome for us, okay? But there's a quid pro quo in all this, and I'll come back to this in just a moment. Because whilst we have been told by dear Bill Gates in 1996 that content is king, and he's right, content is king, unfortunately, content is king, but context is God, okay? And that's because content does not sit in a vacuum. As we create all this fabulous content which helps people make better decisions, it's all very well and good. It's sitting on your website, sitting there all lovely, waiting for people to engage with it. But if they can't find it, if they don't know it's there, how is that going to be useful to them? So you have to think of content in a triumvirate here with search and with social media. You create your content, you optimize it so that it can be findable through search, and then you use social media to amplify it. Social has become the new way of broadcasting for content marketing. We don't pay to broadcast anymore, we amplify through social channels. And these things need to be integrated into your entire marketing communications planning. Okay? You don't just think about content in isolation, think about it in terms of SEO and social, all as one. So, how does content marketing and content in general create trust in brands? Well, we all know that actually what we all want as brands is to have a trusted relationship with our customers. We want them to come to us because they believe in us. They think that what we've got to say is useful and worthwhile. And they want to trust us as part of their buying and consideration sets. So, if you deliver content that prospects find interesting and informative and entertaining, they'll see you as a trusted source of information as an advisor. Very important position to be in, an advisor. And
I just want to talk a little bit about trust in relationships because by helping and not hyping through content, people will make better decisions. The customers will make better decisions. Content therefore helps build trust in the brand. Trusted brands are the ones that become the authorities. I work a lot with business-to-business companies, a lot with technology businesses, and if I hear another brand say, we want to be the authority in this space, there is going to be a pool of blood somewhere. Because I tell you what, everybody wants to be the trusted advisor. Everybody wants to be an authority. Do something about it. Make yourself trusted. Yeah? Don't just say, well, we've stuck a few white papers out, jobs are good, back of the net. It isn't like that. You have to behave in a way where people can trust you. And content gives them such good clues as to why they should trust you. And so thought leadership is earned by actions. And I just want to kind of share this with you because it's a fascinating piece of research which I've written in a book called Managing Customer Relationships by Peppers and Rodgers. I know you've all read it. But just to reprise, trust is actually made up of 4 component parts in content marketing relationships. You have shared values. So what you want and what they want are pretty much the same thing, okay? Interdependence. You need each other. You need customers, but they need you and what it is that you sell. So you take advantage of that. You communicate with them frequently and regularly, but to a high quality level. So don't just continually spit out a blog every single day because you think that's just what you've got to do. That is not what you've got to do. What you've got to do is give out quality information. Well, finally, what they call non-opportunistic behaviour, where you don't take advantage of them as a brand because they've got a difficult situation, and they don't take advantage of you because you're a quarter end. So non-opportunistic behaviour. These are all the components of a trusted brand relationship. And if you can kind of think about these in the way that you behave and the way you communicate, they'll go a long way to improving your trusted status of your brand. And that's because if you talk to people in real life the way that advertising talks to them, they punch you in the face. Yeah? And that's because, frankly, we don't want to be spoken at anymore. Eoin talked about, people can opt out. Yeah? We're in an opt-out world. It takes that to tell you to get stuffed. Yeah? They don't want to hear your news. They don't want to receive your emails. They don't want to go to your bloody event. That's because they want you to give them something to come to. So, think like a publisher and not an advertiser. What do publishers do? They have some kind of area of interest, they know what customers are interested in, they know what customers want to hear, and they create content which is of interest to that kind of customer. And around that they put other content, either from third parties or advertising, which is of the same kind of quality. So, be helpful. Be helpful with your content. Always be looking to solve a problem, solve one of their issues. And I always say, look, if it helps you, think about the people that you're talking to, or you want to talk to, not as customers, but as subscribers. Think of them as if you want them to subscribe to your content. It's so bloody damn good that they're going to sign up for it. They want you to send them stuff. They're giving you permission to communicate with them. Not blanket, but they're giving you permission to communicate with them. So again, I say, is your content so good that customers will be prepared to pay for it? The furrow that Eoin mentioned earlier, the John Deere thing, free. But people would pay for it. It's that useful. So, think like a publisher. And successful publishing is all about the reader, your customers. If you're not solving their pain points with relevant, compelling content, you're adding to the noise or the clutter. So, again, think about prospective customers as if they were subscribers to you. But let's be clear here, it's all well and good pretending you're in the publishing business now, but it's only a means to an end. It's about outcomes and eyeballs, and as Jay Baer said, work backwards from what it is your content marketing is trying to achieve. It's a driver of revenue, and actually not just about page views. We can all sit here and say, and I'll talk about metrics at the end, we can talk about, well, our content's fantastic because we had so many downloads and so many shares. Yeah, but how many pound notes in the till? So, very briefly, we want to talk about just the 4 quick steps. There are a lot more steps than this, obviously, but we've only got a few minutes left. 4 quick steps to content marketing success. First of all, building a clear understanding of your customers through personas, auditing your current content and aligning it to the customer buying journey. And I know you all know how to do that. Create an editorial calendar and set your success, I can't even say this word, success criteria. So sorry. Not the kind of word you don't want to be able to say, is it? Success. Set your success criteria. Okay, right, Eoin, you ready for this?
Yes.
Go.
I'll have to come right back in again, down low. So I'm going to talk you through those 4 steps. So the first piece is about understanding your customer. So that means us as marketeers, we need to walk across to the other side of the office, walk downstairs to the sales department, speak to some of those guys who are customer facing and try and understand why current customers buy our products, and when they meet with customers, what questions are they asking? What kind of people do they speak to? What are the job roles? What kind of people are they? What are their motivations for buying? So this is a really good framework, and I think you've got copies of these slides. So this is a really good tool that you can use to try and create an understanding of your prospects and your customers. And it's all about looking at their goals, what kind of things are happening in their organisation, if it's a B2B sale, of course. What way do they think? Where do they go for information? How do they behave when they're online? What kind of things are they searching for in Google? And you try and use this, once you've created this picture, it really will reap dividends in terms of how you can start to address these questions and desires of your audiences in the content that you create. So before we start creating loads and loads of content that we think is valuable and we think answers the questions, we need to know what's valuable for the customers and what questions are they asking. Secondly, it's about mapping that content to the buyer journey. So this is... No, so that's not the slide I was expecting. The role of content in the buying process. So 60% of the B2B buying decisions are being made and evaluated and compared before the selling brand is contacted. So that means that it used to be that a sales meeting would take place, and that would be your opportunity as a brand to tell everybody about your products and why your approach is the best and why you're the best vendor for them. Now people are using the internet, and the vast majority of that buying, purchase, decision-making cycle, whatever you want to call it, is being done before we even get to speak to anyone. And 87% of B2B purchasers say that content has a moderate or major impact on vendor selection. So they are using content. Customers and prospects are looking for and using content to help guide them through the decision-making cycle. And they might have consumed a whole raft of content before they actually say, oh, actually, do you think we could meet or have a teleconference about your solutions and how you might be able to help me? They already know what they need from you, and they will be ready to ask for it, but not until they're ready. So this is the buying decision-making journey, and again, you can have access to these slides. So it's a really good model to start to look at what kind of activities that we can start to do and what types of content we can create that will begin to map into that buyer journey. So the first stage is about education, so loosening of the status quo. That is about a company or an individual recognizing that there might be something that they need to do that's not what they're doing now. So the reason to change. Why do they need to make a difference, to do something that they haven't done, to buy something that they haven't got? The next part is committing to the change, so understanding that there's that need, whether it's economical for them to make that change. Defining the problem, so that's all about understanding what the problem is and whether there's potential solutions out there that might be able to help. Exploring the possible solutions is the next stage, then committing to a solution. And when I say committing to a solution, that's not the solution that we have to sell them, that's the solution in general, the solution to their problem. They haven't even started thinking about vendors or products yet. Then at the next stage, justifying the decision, that's when they might start to get in touch with vendors to try and understand what the costs might be, what the solutions and the various options might be. And then of course they make the selection at the end. So underneath that you can see what our task is, and I've kind of talked through that already, but the activity is the important part. So at the beginning of that journey we need things like search and social. We need people to be able to find the content that we create, and we need to be able to tell them a story, create what we call trigger moments, which are those moments of clarity in a customer or prospect's mind that makes them think, actually, the way that we're doing things currently is not the best way. If I bought X solution or X product, I could be able to be more efficient, I might be able to do things better, I might have a better standard of life, etc. Moving along then, we need, for that committing to change, we might want to do things like videos and testimonials. Analyst reports are of course very interesting, but before a customer gets to the point of choosing who they want to buy something from, they'll of course look to the wider marketplace for some kind of third-party endorsement or some kind of analysis as to what the best solutions out there might be. Defining the problem and exploring those solutions, that's when case studies become really important, where we can start to showcase, before we talk about products, showcase that us as a brand, or even the particular solution that we have to sell, is a potential solution to that problem or challenge that the customer has. And it's only really when you come down to the vendor selection section that we start to look at things like ROI, calculators and sales enablement content. So that's when we have an opportunity to engage with the customer and start talking about our product. But as you can see, a lot has happened before we get to that stage. Making the selection is all about trying to make sure that customers are able to, it's easy for customers to buy from us, because quite often they arrive at a decision to go with a certain brand or vendor, and then they realize that actually the way that you sell or the way that you operate doesn't quite fit my needs, and that's the killer at the very last post. What we have to do is understand the content that we already have. So when we look at a big matrix like that and we think, well, that looks like a lot of content, but the thing is, you will have a lot of content existing within your organization, and you need to understand if it's any good and how well you're addressing the personas that you've identified. So once you've done that persona work and tried to identify who your prospective customers are and how they behave, look at the content you've got and ask yourself, does it actually answer any of those questions? Audit the content you have and try and identify those gaps. So it might be that you've got lots of content that helps the awareness phase, that's all about the kind of reason why you might want to do what we're trying to get you to do, but you might not have anything that fits that middle bit. So between them recognizing that they need to do something different and coming to the solution that they need to buy your product. Who owns the content, how it's updated? That's an internal thing. Quite often content lies throughout the organization. The sales guys might have little case studies that they've drawn up themselves. Why aren't they able to be used in marketing efforts? So you need to kind of sweep the whole organization and make sure that you can see the content that exists throughout. What questions are being left unanswered? And that's where you can start to identify what content you need to make, because if those questions are being unanswered by you, you can guarantee that one of your competitors is answering that question, and they'll get the sale. Gather up all your previous content into one location so that you've got a view of it and you can understand what you've got and what you haven't got. And think, what is genuine content and what is just genuine sales bullshit? What is the product? What is the product leaflet, the brochure, the data sheet that you're just stamping the content banner on and saying, oh, push that out, someone will go for that? No, they won't, because it won't be answering the questions that they want. It's what you want to say to them, not what they want to hear from you. So this is the kind of idea of what you can start to build in terms of an analysis and little spreadsheet. So you took a look at the type of content, what topic it's covering, which buyer persona it's going to tap into and what desires it's meeting, and then of course how successful it is, which Geraint will talk about in a second. So I've talked about all these different types of content we need to create, and it might seem a bit overwhelming for organizations that don't have huge content marketing budgets. But the idea is that if you create one piece of content that's valuable, then you can atomize it or reuse it in ways that you might never even have considered. So you've got one piece of content, say it's a video or a piece of research. Why can't that piece of research create an infographic? Why can't you create a video summary of the research? Why can't you post a few tweets or write a blog about the research that you've done? You can manifest one piece of content into loads and loads of different things to make sure that you're getting the true value of your investment. And then quite a lot of our customers come to us and say, well, content marketing is all very well, but I just don't know what to talk about. So in case you're stuck with that, here's a few options. So again, you've got these slides. It's things like chat with your customers, see what they wanted to do, look at the case studies you've got in your organization and try and understand why that customer bought from you. Do some online research, look at LinkedIn, look at your other social channels, try to understand the kind of dialogue that your customers are having and what part you can play within that dialogue.
Oh, excellent. Right, one of the last slides here, guys. You'd be pleased to hear. Right, so I'm going to talk very briefly about content measurement. This is a story for another day, but really there are effectively only 4 types of content measurement metrics which fall within. Consumption, how many times it's used and people participate in it, how many times they share it, how directly or indirectly it leads to particular lead generation, and how you define lead generation, and can you actually attribute it to any specific sales, which actually is very, very difficult. But within that is a whole bunch of different metrics that you should be using. But who is doing content well? Let's just finish with a couple of things. There are a lot of people out there doing it well. Red Bull, they're pretty much a content organisation now. I know they still make that horrible sticky liquid, but actually most of their new revenue streams are coming from media. They're a media organisation now. And people like Wine Library TV and marketing, Money Tape, fantastic, great content marketing examples. But I've only got time for one, so I'm going to do, not Liverpool's, which is great, and Marcus would hate me if I didn't do it, but I want to talk about Will It Blend. Now, this is great, Will It Blend, because it's a great small business example. 2006, struggling manufacturer of blenders, kitchen blenders. Big competitors couldn't break it through into the marketplace. Great product, probably the best product in the marketplace, very poor brand. New marketing director watched the CEO blend a broomstick. And he said, why are you doing that? He said, well, that's how we test these things. So they're that strong, this is how we test them. What other things do you blend? Well, we can blend anything. Let's ask some customers, what would they like to blend? So they asked customers what they'd like to blend. So let's see in the power of online where this bloody thing works. Right. Let's see. Is this going to work? No. Typical. Right, we'll do this one then.
Will it blend? That is the question. I love my new iPhone. It does everything. But will it blend? That is the question. Let's find out. I think I'm going to push the smoothie button.
Watch out for the cheesy smile coming up. Cheesy smile.
I smoke. Don't believe this. Now, you fans on YouTube have asked me to blend an iPhone, so I did it. But I have another. And I put this on eBay.
So, that was 2006. 180 videos later, nearly 300 million views of their videos. They've got 700,000 subscribers to their YouTube channel. This is the only marketing they do, pretty much. 700% increase in retail sales. 700% increase in retail sales. The actual cost of it is negligible. He bought a new white coat. Was pretty much the only cost. So, it doesn't matter how big or small you are, content which is useful, exhibits their product in an interesting or amusing way, and people were suggesting all sorts of, they've blended ball bearings, they've blended other blenders, right? So, fantastic case study. Finally, really the summary of all this is the end of interruptive marketing as we know it, boys and girls. The things we've learned to be true are no longer true. And as Seth Godin said, the notion of interrupting customers by simply advertising marketing messages to them, it's all over. The web has stopped all that. Technology has stopped all that. And finally, I'd like to summarise by saying, look, content is really the only marketing left. And in fact, I was with Don Schultz, the famous guy who wrote Integrated Marketing Communications, the book, a few years back. He said to me, content marketing is the future of marketing. There is nothing else left that works. So, with all of that, very happy to talk now, take questions. I know we're a bit run over, sorry guys. If you want to talk to us, happily connect with us through Twitter or FriendTube feed thing, and we're very happy to speak. And our friends at the IDM have asked us to leave this slide on last, under pain of death. So, there you go. Any questions? Excellent, they're all stunned. It's brilliant, I love that. Excellent. Sorry, they're all going off to something more interesting now. Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you.